The SBA is going state by state after PPP fraudsters. Is your state next? Welcome back to the IRS War Room. I am Melinda Tolbert, enrolled agent and founder of MJ Tax Relief Group. Today, we're talking about a spinoff of the PPP loan initial announcement. Today, we're going to discuss a story that every business owner in America should be paying attention to. Not because I said so, not because the media said so, because the SBA said so. SBA is the Small Business Administration. And what they've said should have your attention. So a few weeks ago, the SBA announced that it suspended 27,486 borrowers connected to approximately 1.1 billion in suspected fraudulent pandemic era loans. Now, when most people saw that headline, they probably thought, that's Ohio. That doesn't affect me. That's somebody else's problem. But when I read the actual release, the press release, one sentence jumped off the page. So the SBA stated, these latest suspensions are part of SBA's state-by-state effort to identify and take action against borrowers suspected of defrauding the agency's pandemic relief loan programs. State by state. Let that sink in, because Ohio, they really aren't the story. The strategy for me is the story. And here's what makes that statement so important. So first of all, let me take a step back. Ohio wasn't first. According to the SBA, similar actions occurred in California, Minnesota, and Maine. So in California, there were about 112 borrowers that total approximately 8.6 billion connected to suspected fraud. Minnesota had about 6,900 borrowers, and it was approximately 400 million. Maine had about 1,500 borrowers that were approximately 93 million. Then going back to Ohio, 27,486 borrowers, and it was approximately 1.1 billion. Now, think about that. California, Minnesota, Maine, now Ohio. They're all in different regions. They have different economies, different industries, different populations, different politics. They got different everything. Yet all four appear in the SBA announcements involving the suspected pandemic loan fraud. So naturally, I put my Inspector Gadget hat on and I start asking questions, right? So I want to know why these states, what are they seeing in those applications? What are they comparing? And what does this mean for the rest of the country? Because I want to know how they are selecting what states that they're going after. Because here's what caught my attention. Nobody manually reviews 112,000 files. I'm just not convinced, okay? Ain't nobody doing it. Nobody is sitting at a desk with the calculator reviewing 112,000 PPP loan applications. That tells me something much bigger is happening. Now, let's be clear. The SBA has not publicly disclosed every detail about how they identify these cases that they're going after. But we know the government has access to enormous amounts of information. They got access to the PPP loan applications, to the EIDL applications, payroll tax returns, income tax returns, the forgiveness applications, business registrations, bank records, employment records, state filings, years of historical data. And when all this information that they're piecing together, when it doesn't match, government starts asking questions. Now, that doesn't automatically mean fraud. Let me be clear about that. A discrepancy is not proof of fraud. A mistake is not proof of fraud. But again, they start asking questions, and questions create reviews, and reviews creates investigations. And investigations can create very serious consequences. Now, one of the biggest mistakes business owners make is assuming that the government enforcement starts with handcuffs. It usually doesn't. What we are seeing is a two-track approach. So track number one is administrative. So the administrative piece is they've started the suspensions, they started the restrictions, program disqualifications, loss of access to future SBA programs. So these borrowers that they're going after in these different states, they are being denied to be able to participate in any future SBA programs. They have lost access to certain government benefits as well. So the Ohio announcement involved over 27,000 borrower suspensions. That's significant. Now, track number two is criminal. And Ohio, the Ohio announcement actually included that too. So according to the SBA, there were 4 Ohio individuals who were charged in connection with an alleged 1.4 million pandemic relief fraud scheme. Now, remember, a charge is not a conviction. I want to make that clear. I also want to make clear that everyone is presumed innocent unless proven guilty. But it does demonstrate something. This is not just talk anymore. Everybody keeps saying, I'm seeing in my other videos where people are making comments stating that, oh, they've been announcing this for years. They still haven't done anything about it. Well, that's proof to you that they are starting to do stuff about it. Okay. The government is willing to move beyond administrative actions right now. And they are actively pursuing criminal cases when it believes that the facts support it. Now, you're probably saying, okay, Melinda, these are people that have committed fraud. Right. Okay. Understood. But let me tell you why this story is bigger than that. Because many people still believe that the pandemic era enforcement is over. Most people think the loans were forgiven. The pandemic is over. Nobody is looking anymore. Really? Absolutely not. Let's talk about that. And I want to share with you what is really happening right now. So when I was doing my research about what's going on with the PPP fraud, I came across this story. A former New York Police Department detective named John Bolden was sentenced to 4 years in federal prison for his role in the pandemic loan fraud scheme. So think about that. A police detective, someone whose career involved investigating wrongdoings. Now, according to federal prosecutors, Bolden participated in a scheme involving more than 65 individuals who obtained fraudulent PPP loans. According to the court records, there were false Schedule C filings that were used. The government also alleged that income figures were manipulated to obtain larger loan amounts. So they also had referrals coming in into this fraud scheme from family members were sending them people, associates were sending them people, and others were connected to the fraud scheme. So eventually it all unraveled. Bolden pleaded guilty. He was sentenced to 48 months in federal prison. He was ordered to pay restitution, ordered to forfeit funds. And here's the part that I want people to understand. Number one, you also had other police officers or detectives that participated in this. So New York, they went all out. Okay. We are still seeing prosecutions. I want you to be aware of that. Prosecutions are happening, sentencings are happening, and investigations, even more investigations are happening. So that should tell you all something. If you think the government is only looking at borrowers, think again, because there's another story that I wanted to share with you all that deserves attention. And this lender provider that I'm about to share with you, this is actually the provider that I went through personally to get my PPP loan application process. So according to the SBA, the co-founder of a lender service provider that helped facilitate PPP loans through Blue Acorn was sentenced for his role in a massive COVID relief fraud scheme that involved approximately $65 million. $65 million. So if you were one of the ones that submitted your PPP loan application through Blue Acorn, I'm not saying that all of their people are going to be investigated. I just want you to go back and look at your paperwork and make sure you have all your ducks in the rows, because I know I am. Okay, so $65 million. Now, why is that important? Because it shows that the government's focus isn't limited to borrowers. They are looking at the entire ecosystem. They're looking at the borrowers, they're looking at the preparers and the promoters. The promoters were the people out scheming and defrauding people, telling them that they qualify for all of this stuff. Some knew that it wasn't true, and some didn't know that it wasn't true. They're going after consultants, they're going after facilitators, they're going after service providers, processors, everybody behind the scenes. They are going after everyone. And that's important because I hear businesses say things like, I'll just use Blue Acorn as an example. I use Blue Acorn. I use an online platform. I use the consultant. I assumed everything was done correctly. So I want you to listen very carefully. Using a large platform doesn't automatically guarantee that everything was submitted accurately. Okay. At the end of the day, what matters is the information that was submitted. So the numbers, the payroll, the revenue, the certification, the supporting documentation that I hope you still have copies of. That is what investigators are reviewing right now. And that brings me to another one of the biggest misconceptions that I've been hearing lately. Melinda, my PPP loan was forgiven. Okay, cool. Awesome. I'm glad your PPP loan application was forgiven, because forgiveness and fraud are two different issues. Okay. If a borrower legitimately qualified for a PPP loan, they submitted their accurate information. They used the funds properly, not on BBLs, not on extravagant vacations, not on luxury items, not on luxury vehicles. They used it properly and they obtained their forgiveness. That's exactly how the program was supposed to work. But let's play devil's advocate. Let me ask you a question. If someone obtained a loan using false information, does forgiveness magically make the false information true? Of course not. Absolutely not. Okay. Forgiveness does not rewrite history. Forgiveness doesn't erase the underlying conduct. And that's where people are getting confused. Honestly, in my opinion, forgiveness is more fraud, because now you've submitted another application and you've lied about what you spent the fraudulent proceeds that you received on. So you submitted another fraudulent application for the forgiveness. Most people believe the loan forgiveness means the file is permanently closed. That's not what forgiveness means. Okay. I want y'all to understand that. Forgiveness means the government agreed to forgive the repayment of the loan. It does not mean the government certified that every statement made in the application was accurate. And that's a huge distinction. One of the biggest distinctions in this entire discussion. Now, let me tell you who worries me the most. It's not the obvious fraudsters, of course. It's not the person who knowingly created fake documents. It's the business owners that are coming to me and they're saying, my accountant handled that. My consultant handled that. My cousin handled that. Some company online did it for me, a company that they thought were legitimate. I never looked at it. That's what I'm hearing people saying. I never looked at it. That worries me because if I ask, how many employees did you report? And the answer is, I don't know, that's a problem. If I ask how much payroll was certified, and the answer is, I'm not sure, that's a problem. Not because you're automatically guilty of anything, but because every business owner should know what was submitted in their name. And let me be clear about something. This isn't about fear. I just want you all to be prepared. That's a big difference because fear causes people to panic, and I don't want you to panic. I just want you to prepare, and I want you to be prepared. So if you receive the PPP funds, here's what I would do if I were you. I would pull the file. I would review the application. I would review the forgiveness package that was submitted. I would review the payroll reports. I would review the supporting documents. I would review the tax returns. I would make sure that every document that I have in my possession is telling the same story. Because if my tax return says that I made $10,000 and my PPP loan application said that I made $100,000, that's a problem. The worst time to review your PPP loan application is after the government agency has started investigations and has started asking questions. That's when people discover the mistakes that you should have already discovered earlier. So don't say you didn't know, because I'm telling you now. Now you know. Here's my opinion, and I'm going to close out. And I'm clearly labeling this as an opinion. I believe we're going to start seeing more announcements. I believe that they are going to start going after more states. Remember, state by state enforcement. There are going to be more reviews. There's going to be more investigations. And there's also going to be more enforcement actions. I believe this because the SBA itself told us. They said that this is a state by state effort. Those aren't my words. Those are theirs. That's what they said in the press release. Now, do I know which state is next? I wish I did. I wish I did. I don't know which state is next. Do I know how many more announcements are coming? I don't. Nobody outside the government knows that. But I do know this. The smartest business owners aren't waiting until their state appears in the headline. They're getting organized right now. They're reviewing their records. They're understanding their files, because preparations, again, always beat panic. Now, the takeaway from all of this isn't Ohio, California, Maine, none of that. It is the strategy, how they are buckling down and going after these fraudsters state by state. Now, some innocent people will get caught up in this. You just have to prove your innocence. That's it. Don't think because they come knocking that you did something fraudulently. You just have to prove that your application was not fraudulently. The government has publicly announced the state-by-state effort. We've seen the suspensions, the criminal charges, the prison sentences. We're seeing enforcement that's involving the facilitators and the service providers. And all of that tells us one thing: the pandemic era, the PPP loan, EIDL loan, all those programs are not over. It's not even close to being over. Okay. I'm Melinda Tolbert. Thank you so much for joining me in the IRS War Room. If you found value in today's episodes, please subscribe to the channel, share it with another business owner, and leave a comment. I'd love to know your thoughts on today's episode. Do you think we'll continue to see additional state announcements? Do you think the government is just getting started? Let me know in the comments. Until next time, see you all. Peace.